All right. One last time, we're gonna try this. I'm JD. This is the Pharmacopoeia, and I was reading about ancient pharmaceuticals in the Book of Revelations, and or Revelation. It seems like a bunch of revelations. He had to write 7 letters to 7 cities. And I was reading about one of these cities, specifically Pergamon and Asklepios and Smyrna. And I was just looking at the drugs, and I came across a cool story because the AI was challenging me. Let me show you where it was happening. This AI was challenging me, bro. And it was just helping me improve my theory. See, these red points are new theories, new thoughts, new ideas. What is the chief theory is that the apocalypse was written against the Asclepian serpent healing cult. And I was like, what goes on in this cult? You know, what are they doing and what are they not doing? And then it led me to the basanos, the touchstone, the thing which you test for gold. You know, that's the basanos. You touch your gold against it, and if it comes off a certain color, it's real gold, and if it doesn't, it's not. We have a metaphorical basanos here, and that is, my friend, it said, you wanted me to answer some questions, right? Here's one of the questions. Which question was it that I was answering? Yes, this. The Pergamene lexa sacra. Or wait, what? Sorry. I forget where I found it. It was one of these 3 questions. Obviously came over to the AI. Typed it in. My AI, the one I trained on over 2,421 classical works. And I basically just wanted to get it led me to Aristides in the first ever ancient cold plunge to ever take place. I said, tell me in 250 words what took place, because he just drops it in here at the last minute. He said, the god of Pergamon in Revelation 2:12 is addressed in a city where Asklepios had his greatest Asian sanctuary, where the god had prescribed Kyphi through an Isis priest at Smyrna, and where Aristides underwent cold river immersion prescribed in the winter. The divine pharmacy of John's readers knew was not abstract. It was institution. It was the institution from up the hill in their homes. Now, I was just going on where I'm going to come back later with more about Revelation and ancient serpent cults and Smyrna. But for now, I just wanted to read the original cold plunge report. Maybe I'll put myself, maybe I'm trying to figure out where best to put my own self. Maybe here would be good. And then here. Okay, so I got the context of the whole thing. So here's the general context of what's going on. The primary source in question is the Hieroi Logoi. It sits at the intersection of 3 things that were all live and serious in 2nd century AD Greek culture. That is the literary memoir, the dream diary as a religious obligation, and the theology of divine medicine. We're going to see quickly that the ancient medicine practitioners at Pergamon were prescribing remedies through people's dreams. Okay? Do you know what that freaking means, man? It means direct Interaction with higher intelligences, giving them actionable remedies which they can then use. And let's see what happens. So more general context. What kind of a text is this? It's not simply a health diary. Aristides himself explains in Sacred Tale 2 that he initially had no intention of writing any of it down. He doubted he would survive long enough, and then when he did survive, he thought too much time had passed to reconstruct it accurately. He says it kept making excuses to both the god and his friends who urged him to write. This sounds so familiar, it's striking so many nerves. But eventually, after many years, dream visions compelled him to bring it to light. The very first command Asklepios gave him before prescribing any treatment, and of course this is ancient, was to record the dreams. Let me read that again. The very first command Asklepios gave him before prescribing any treatment of medicine was to record his dreams. I want you to think about that. Aristides says the god prescribed the keeping of a dream journal as the first of his injunctions. Jeb, page 291. These are all sources, direct, in the library. Primary source. The AI is putting together a new web, a new perspective, a new reality construed through the primary sources driven by my research directions and in contribution with many great research fellows. He did this. At points when he was too weak to write himself, he dictated. But for a long time, he recorded only the raw dreams, not their context or outcomes, because he lacked the physical strength and because he never expected the god's providence to extend this far. He estimates the total notes he made amounted to no fewer than 30,000 lines, most of which were lost or dispersed during the chaos of his household during, those years. So, basically, he's sick. What survives in 6 books is therefore a retrospective reconstruction assembled from memory and partial notes in whatever order God directed him, and he says so explicitly. The cultural setting, incubation, and the Asklepion. The institution of incubation, egkoimesis, was ancient and pan-Hellenic. Suppliants came to sanctuaries of Asklepios, Epidaurus, Pergamon, Smyrna, and slept in the sacred precincts hoping for a healing dream. The god appeared and either cured directly or prescribed a treatment. Pausanias describes the Asklepion at Sicyon, not sure how to pronounce that. The complex included a chamber dedicated to sleep, called a sleep temple, with statues of Hypnos and Oneiros. Man, I didn't even know Oneiros was a god. Reflecting how seriously the dream experience was architecturally embedded. Aristides was resident at Pergamon's Asklepion for years at a time, living with the sanctuary's Neokoros, the temple keeper, sharing dreams communally with him and other devotees. The divine prescriptions came nightly. He compared notes with those around him and found the dreams sometimes overlapping or confirming each other. The whole network of friends, physicians, and temple staff formed a kind of interpretive community around his revelations. That's cool as hell. The second sophistic context. Okay, so we're just going through the context, and then we're going to jump straight to the cold plunge incident and going to get the overview from the AI so you're well prepped, because then I've got also the actual primary source right here, and we're going to read the report from the first ever cold plunge as ordained by God, a.k.a. Asklepios, who, according to the Bible, is Satan. But more on that to come. That's the research that led to this. John of Patmos is an illiterate fuck. I'll just say that much. And he's like kind of a follower too, if you ask me. Anyways, so yeah, where were we? we? Here we were. The second sophistic context. Aristides was one of the great orators of the second sophistic, the movement of highly educated Greek intellectuals who, under Roman rule in the 2nd century AD, poured their energies into classical Greek rhetoric and literary form. It's probably because the Romans knew how great Greek was, and they needed to revive it because they were killing it. He traveled, gave speeches, competed, and was famous. The hydroi logoi exists in direct relationship to his public persona. In Sacred Tale 4, Jeb, page 327, he explicitly thanks Asklepios not just for bodily survival, but for his rhetorical powers. I don't know, I think I kind of like me being up here better. Yeah. And then we'll put that down there. Or will we go up with it? Yeah, I like this. Okay. The movement of highly educated Greek intellectuals. He explicitly thanks Asklepios not just for bodily survival, but for his rhetorical powers. The god prescribed compositions, hymns to Athena, Dionysos, Apollo, and would set him rhetorical problems to solve in dreams. Guys, we all want to know, what did the ancients know about God and advanced knowledge of reality that we didn't know? This is it. It comes through dreams. This is what every world religion teaches. It comes through you. And sometimes you don't know if you're having a vision, awake, or if you're having a dream. And those are the most powerful transmissions of information from the metaphysical realm, from the deities and from the gods. Anyways, I digress. The dream technology. That's why JD's Pharmacopoeia, one-irigens. We've been here since the beginning, since day one. Go back and watch my first video. Okay. A contemporary critic named Pardalos told him he believed the god had sent the illness precisely so that Aristides could grow as a rhetorician through divine companionship. And Aristides does not entirely reject this. In his Lalia to Asklepios, he states plainly that he counts himself among those who have lived many lives under the god, not just the one life they were given, and would not trade it for all ordinary human happiness. I like that. I really like this guy, yo. I just discovered this guy, and apparently his text, his book. So this is what makes it unique, right? Perfect timing. The hydroi logi are the only surviving ancient texts that offer sustained first-person psychological interiority around religious healing. Wow! A phenomenologically written text. This is like the first ever Erowid experience, but it's God. There's nothing like it. Not in Galen, not in Pausanias, not in the temple inscription records at Epidaurus. It is a part spiritual autobiography, part medical case history, part literary monument to an unbreakable divine relationship, and it contains, as one of its incidental features, some of the most vivid weather writing in antiquity. I don't know what that means. I know that he is sometimes having dreams of the gods predicting the weather for him, and that the weather is also intimately linked to the intensity of his dreams. But I don't know what this means. Weather writing in antiquity. I'm going to ask real quick. 50 words or less, and then let's just go. I'm going to prime you a little bit more. We're going to jump back to the key scene of the true first ever prescription of the ancient winter bath, they're calling it. We call it cold plunge now in modernity. So, yeah, we got a short one, 250 words, and then we're jumping to this primary source translated into English by Behr. Aelius Aristides was a hypochondriac rhetor of the 2nd century AD who spent years at the Asklepios in Pergamon treating a cascade of real or imagined illnesses under direct divine instruction. Asklepios appeared to him repeatedly in dreams and prescribed things no sane physician would recommend, including in winter stripping naked and immersing himself in the icy Selinus River, Selinus, I don't know, that ran past the sanctuary. He did it in front of a crowd. The spectators apparently expected him to die. He didn't. He attributed his survival entirely to the god and wrote it all up in Hydroi Logoi, the Sacred Tales. The 6 books of obsessive, divine, medical autobiography, unlike anything else surviving from antiquity. The Cold River is in Sacred Tale Sacred Tale 2. We're going right to it. Boom. Sacred Tale 2. Cold Plunge. Here, I'll fix that number. It starts over here. So, January 27th. The good time to invent the cold bath plunge winter time. Cold ice plunge. After this, so let's just start on the day. So this is one of his basically diary entries that he's pieced together. So January 27th, 149 AD. Let me repeat that. January 27th, 149 AD. I believe now we are on not the Gregorian, but the other calendar before that. So we're back 13 days. I forget the name of it. I always do. We're not on it. It doesn't matter. After this, 149 AD, January 7th, inside the mind of Aristides, discovering for the first time, by will of God, the benefits of the ice plunge. After this, he kept me in Phocaea and sent me marvelous symbolic dreams, which pertained not only to my body, but also to many, many other things. And we heard in advance about the winds which would probably occur, so that whenever our host, Rufus, heard our dreams, in other respects he was the first of the Phocaeans, and himself also not ignorant of Asklepios, he was greatly amazed to hear these things from us indoors, which he had left without when he entered. What? Anyways, he went outside, he came back. Once, at the god's command, there was need of milk. I can relate to that. And there was none, for it was near a 4th in the month of distress, according to our usage in Asia. But it seemed necessary to search for it, who had given birth that very night. Oh, sorry, I skipped 3 words. And Rufus, it had seemed necessary to search for it. And Rufus went out to the end of his estate and found a sheep who had given birth that very night. And he brought and provided the milk. Finally, the god remitted our sailing to Chios, both with signs and other prophecies. And after all these, I thought that the ship had been smashed to pieces and was no more. There is a region called Genais, not far from Phocaea. He diverted us here for some days at the warm springs, and then brought us back to Smyrna. Then, when we were in Smyrna, he appeared to me in some such form. He was at the same time Asklepios and Apollo, both the Clarion and he who is called the Calitechnis in Pergamum, whose is the first of the 3 temples. Standing before my bed in this form, when he had extended his fingers and calculated the time, he said, "You have 10 years from me and 3 from Serapis." And at the same time, the 3 and the 10 appeared by the position of the fingers as 17, And he said that this was not a dream, but a waking state, which is a quote from the Odyssey 19.547, and that I would also know it. And at that same time, he commanded that I go down to the river, which flows before the city, and bathe, and that a young boy lead the way. Pause, Greeks. And he pointed out the boy. Explicitly, Jesus Christ. This is a summary of the divine manifestation, and I would place a high premium on being able to recount exactly each particular of it. It was the middle of winter, and the north wind was strong, and it was icy cold, and the pebbles were fixed to one another by the frost, so that they seemed like a continuous piece of ice. And the water was such as is likely in such weather. Man, I'm gonna post a picture of me in Lake Superior ice bathing, just for the love of the game. When the divine manifestation was announced, friends escorted us and various doctors, some of them acquaintances, and others who came either out of concern or even for the purposes of investigation. And there was also another great crowd, for some distribution happened to be taking place beyond the gates. And everything was visible from the bridge. There was a certain doctor, Heracleon, a companion of ours, who confessed to me on the day after that he had gone, having persuaded himself that if I should fare as well as possible, I should be afflicted with recurvation of the spine or some other such thing. When we were at the river, there was no need for anyone to encourage us, but being still full of warmth from the visions of the god, I cast off my clothes, and not wanting to be massaged, flung myself where the river was deepest. Next, as in a pool of very gentle and tempered water, I passed my time swimming all about and splashing myself all over. How fun, Aristides. When I came out, all my skin had a rosy hue, and my body was comfortable everywhere. And there was a great shout from those present and those coming up, shouting that celebrated phrase, "Great is Asklepios!" Who could indicate what came next? During all the rest of the day and night till bedtime, I preserved the condition which I had after the bath, nor did I feel any part of my body to be drier nor moister, nor did any of the warmth abate, nor was any added, nor again was the warmth such as one would have from a human contrivance, but it was a certain continuous body heat, bringing an even power throughout the whole body of my day and during the whole time. Sorry, some of you can't see that. We're at the bottom of the page. We're going back up. My mental state was nearly the same, for there was neither, as it were, conspicuous pleasure, nor would you say that it was like a human joy. But there were certain inexplicable high spirits which counted all things second to the present moment, so that when I saw other things, I seemed not to see them. Thus I was wholly with the God. Wow, that's beautiful, bro. Let me go back and read this. This is a metaphysical, spiritual state of being that we can apparently activate through winter baths. For there was neither, as it were, conspicuous pleasure, nor would you say that it was like a human joy. But there were certain inexplicable high spirits which counted all things second to the present moment. What does that remind you of? Does that remind anybody else of Terence McKenna and the felt immediate presence of the moment, and how psychedelics teach us to be engaged with that in a mind-expanding, consciousness-expanding manner, which, is a self-learning process? It's not a it's self-teaching and self-learning. You become the teacher and the learner when you apply yourself in this continual effort throughout your life to experience with fullness the felt immediate presence of the moment. That is just an ancient, how one would say, I don't know how one would say it. It's an ancient teaching. The masters have told us that you just be still and know. Just be still and know. Meditate. Listen to your breath. Feel your breath. Be mindful of what your senses are picking up. Do you feel the chair under your butt, the floor under your feet, the gravity in your hair? Do you feel these things? If you tune into everything, you can access states of perpetual bliss and revitalization, rejuvenation. You can heal yourself if you tap into these states. And there are ways to do it, which God has given us aplenty. As Homer said, the grain of the earth produces many drugs. Drugs of wonder, drugs of baneful drugs, drugs of great use. And they don't have to be drugs. I mean, you can call the cold bath a drug, whatever. It's the prescription from the god of medicine and sleep and dreams and good, oh my God. All right, so let's just see if we can finish now. He was holy with God. That's beautiful. But now it is your task, O Lord, to make clear what came next and to reveal by saying what and by turning where we would do what is gratifying to you and would best continue our tale. Since I have mentioned the river and the terrible winter and the bath, am I next to speak of other things of the same category, or am I to compile, as it were, a catalog of wintry, divine, and very strange baths? Or dividing up my tale, shall I narrate some intermediate events, or is it best to pass over all the intermediate things and give an end to my first tale, how the oracle about the years held and how everything turned out? For the God also gave me many other signs when he snatched me from the dangers which ever beset me, and which were frequent every night and day, different ones confronting me at different times, sometimes the same ones reoccurring, and whenever one was quit of them, others taking their place. And antidotes for each of these things came from the God, and he consoled me in various ways by word and deed. Amen. Amen. Can we get more of this? Can we get more people like this that are just talking to God, recording their conversations, doing science of any degree, proto-science, iatrochemistry, fucking philosophy, science, I don't care what kind it is. Let's just think critically and intellectually about what the world is offering, what we're doing, what we're looking at, and who and what we truly are as a conscious, sentient being with the ability to manipulate reality at our own discretion. I hope you enjoyed the discovery of the ice bath. I just want to say, I feel that exact same way when I'm done. I feel completely relaxed, bro. My whole body is just comfortable. It's comfortable, bro. I think that's exactly what he said. I mean, it's not conspicuous pleasure, dude, man. I don't know. I really like both the sauna and the ice bath together. I think both of them together really give you people talk about a nervous system reset as if it's a thing. I don't know if it's a thing, but cold bath makes me think it's a thing. So maybe it is a thing. It's just a word. It's just a phrase. Turn a phrase to describe a feeling. That feeling is grand. And existence is grand. I say go jump in some fucking water. Have a grand existence. Come back. Subscribe later. There's going to be a lot of shit coming. In a good way. Sorry for my phrasing. I don't know how to end this. This is the end, my beautiful friends, the end.